Hey guys, I'm Nick Eastwood. Welcome to the Ace-8 Poker YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Ian Simpson. How you doing, Ian?
Pretty good, man.
We're going to be looking at a hand from Ace-8 Poker live in Sochi. Sochi?
Sochi.
Sochi. Let's take a look.
BB is 5K, and we have a spicy little, is that a limp? We have a limp with 9-6 suited.
Don't recommend that, Ian.
No, afraid not. I get the prettiness, you know, it's kind of it is connected, it's suited, it's fun. We don't limp in MTT poker when you are this deep.
I mean, the question is, did we come all the way to Sochi to fold a suited connector?
That is a question.
The answer clearly for Deshev is no.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with him.
And the reason why we don't limp this is because sometimes we get punished by our friend in the +2 position. We also limp this quite early on, and this is also quite questionable. But we do get an isolate from undergun +2, and the button is now thinking about his options with ace-10 offsuit.
So Chorochensky has an interesting decision point here in the hand. It is a nice time to 3-bet when there is a limper in the pot. That extra big blind that is probably coming from a weak range gives you that little bit more money to win with a 3-bet. Ace-10 off? Honestly, this hand can go either way. It's going to perform perfectly well calling against these two ranges, I believe. I probably do lean towards a 3-bet personally, but I wouldn't hate calling either.
I lead on the side of the aggression here too, especially if Cherniak is looking to isolate a weaker player and play in position. This makes sense as a bluff 3-bet in my eyes as well.
For sure.
So let's see what Chorochensky decides to do. He flicks in the call, which is okay, but we prefer the aggressive route.
Does keep in the limp as weak range, which we can be dominating, so I don't particularly hate it. Just don't fold.
Absolutely, yeah, don't fold. Queen 6 here for the big blind, Mr. Batuev, who is flicking it in. Now, this is very questionable.
Well, I see the appeal of defending big blinds with suited queens. If it was a min-raise heads-up pot, it's a mandatory defend.
Absolutely.
It's 3x going 4 ways. We have some reversed implied odds with the queen high flush draw, let's call it at this stage.
And the queen.
And yeah, our queen is going to be dominated so often here that it could land us in too much trouble. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards folding here.
And here's another note, Ian. Our friend under the gun is still to act, and he could be laying the trap.
He could be laying the
trap. This occasion he has the 9-6 suited, but these kind of players, they do like to mix in the aces, and therefore we could just be putting in 15,000 to never see it again.
Yep.
And no flop. So, we prefer a fold. I cannot imagine a world where Deshev decides that he wants to let this one go, and he calls, let's take a flop.
Can you imagine being that guy? Limp folds 9-6 suited?
No, it won't be me. Once he's put in the 5K, he kind of has to
have to call.
Let's see a flop. Ace Jack 10 with 2 spades.
Oh my lord, what a flop. The big blind flops, gut shots, straight draw, second to nut flush draw.
He does.
They can't have any leads on this board. It is not a good enough board for
their range. No, absolutely not.
No. We can't be leading. We can be excited, but we can't be leading here.
We can't be excited with Deshev because he has 9 high. We do, however, get a donk shove from Batuev in the big blind. 42k into around, I believe, the pot before this was, I think he's a donk shove for about 2/3 pot.
Okay.
Do you like this?
I don't know how I feel about this.
I think it's time to get out of the way with the 9-6. We had a couple of chances before to do so, but now is the prime time. What a life Cherniak in the undergun +2 seat here. Now we do have an interesting situation because we're 171k deep with Chorochensky on the button. Now, I think I'd like a call, Ian.
100%. We do not want to scare off, well, Chorochensky's exact hand and similar. And we don't want to, I don't know if Chorochensky is or isn't a recreational player, but if we jam, they're definitely going to fold ace king, ace queen, probably going to fold, never definitely, probably going to fold those hands. You want to give him enough opportunities to make mistakes. So just calling, not forcing out the other player is the way forward here.
We allow our opponent to play very straightforwardly when we shove, and we want our opponents to be in tough situations, which this is absolutely a tough situation when we decide to call as Cherniak here. When we are Chorochensky.
Yeah, top and bottom pair facing a big blind open jam. and the flat call from the original raiser. I am not loving life with top and bottom pair.
Absolutely not. Because Cherniak's entirely uncapped in this situation, remember. He isolated, and then no one else put any further action before the flop. He can have all the sets, he can have all the straights.
Problem is he's also not folding ace king, ace queen, or even 10 jack.
No, but he can protect all of those hands by just calling his whole range.
Yeah, so as the ace 10, this is about as ugly as it gets in tournament poker. He's thinking about it.
Can he find the fold, or is he just going to go with it? Remember, we've still got Battlewev with chunks of equity in the big blind.
Oh, yeah.
He decides he cannot lay it down at this juncture. And I think there's something to be said about his mannerisms here. As we were looking at him, seemed pretty uncomfortable putting more money in the pot there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that he should be, but we don't want to portray that if we can help it.
Yeah, try and be consistent with your movements. We talked about it before.
Absolutely.
We're going to be going to the turn, and it is backdoor flush draw for the clubs comes in. But aside from that, it's as bricky as it gets.
Super brick.
With the nuts.
What do you want to do, Ian? Very interesting situation here.
I want to get all the money from my opponent.
Oh, you have the nuts and you want all the money, Ian?
Yeah, man. What is the best way to do that? I want to jam now because Kurachensky is going to have equity now. He might think he's going to be behind X amount of the time. He's going to be in front X amount of the time. He's going to have that same decision on turn and river. If he has to make that decision on the turn, he knows he has some equity to get a full house. So it's going to be a little easier to get the money in on the turn than it is the river, I believe. So I would just jam now.
I like a lot of the reasons that you've given there. I think there's something to be said for checking, but on the double flush draw as well, protection is a thing. Even though we have the nuts right now, there's very many rivers that, like you said, we don't get paid on, and that we no longer have the nuts. So I think also shoving here with an SPR of, what is this, 0.7?
Yeah.
I think I like going all in as well.
Yeah.
Cherniak, does he agree, or will he lay the trap? He's eyeing up his opponent's stack. He does go for the shove, Ian. We may not what we're talking about after all, and Kurachensky is in an awful spot here for his tournament life, Ian.
Is he going to talk himself into thinking his opponent does this with ace king, ace queen,
do you think he
10
does?
Jack? I don't think he does. Is he going to talk himself into thinking that his opponent does this?
What do we beat here that shoves for value?
I don't even think 10 Jack would shove for value here.
I don't think so.
So we don't beat any values, and bluffs kind of don't exist because, well, one player's all in. I mean, you can't bluff people off their equity.
It's a dry side pot, exactly.
Yeah.
And if we factor in that people don't generally find bluffs in this spot, I would say. This spot is very rare, but if you show this to me a lot of times, I don't think many people are going to be finding bluffs. Sure. And couple that with the fact that Cherniak just has so many good hands in this spot.
You can have everything, so.
Yeah, let's see what we do as Kurachensky. I think this is a juncture to let our hand go.
I agree. That's why, if we're gonna call flop, we're gonna, no, don't do it, oh no.
I'll tell you one thing though, Ian, we're not dead.
We are not dead, we got 10%.
Yeah, and Cherniak's got the nuts here, and he's gonna see people's cards, and he pretty much couldn't be in worse shape considering he only has 67% equity with the nuts on this turn.
Yeah, that's pretty grim.
He loses on a spade, he chops on a king, and he loses on an ace and a 10. Battlewev in the big blind with the absolute scoop Jack of spades. And he will win the side pot and I believe eliminates Kurachensky, unfortunately, who will lose the main pot to the undergun +2 player, whose name escapes me.
Pretty brutal hand there. Very interesting. Lots of decision points along the way. I stand to be corrected on all of them because that is a bizarre hand. Let us know what you think in the comment section. And if you enjoyed the video today, press like, press subscribe, and turn on notifications by pressing the bell below.
See you on the next one.